Coming up, I just saw Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts and feelings in this episode of Diz Pop. Diz Pop is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect vacation. Visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Ryno Clavin. Welcome to the show and my loft area that you can see is very busy and overcrowded. I just got out of the 6 p.m. Thursday night showing of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I've got some thoughts and feelings on this movie. In fact, I even found my own Fantastic Beast right here. He is feeling underloved, so he's going to sit with me while I do this preview. He might jump out, so I apologize for the clacking noise you might hear here, but good boy, Artie. Okay, so this is the newest endeavor into the, and I should say the first that doesn't focus on Harry Potter, but it goes into the Wizzarding World. And this one, for those of you who don't know, is about Newt Scamander, who wrote the famous Hogwarts, I believe it's used as a textbook, The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, one of Harry's school books. And this takes place in America in the 20s, 1925, I believe, to be exact. And what I'm going to do is just run through like a basic of the plot. Okay, I'm going to keep it spoiler light. You know, the thing is about this movie, we don't really know anything about the plot, so it will have minor spoilers, but I won't keep any like twists and turns. I mean, I will avoid discussing the twists and turns. If you want to discuss those privately, you can always message me on Twitter or the DizPop account at DizPop Show or on Facebook, any of that jazz. And we can chit chat about it. But anyway, so I'm just going to get right into it. I want this to be kind of short, succinct, and sweet. And so this movie is directed by David Yates, who you may or may not know directed Harry Potter 5, 6, 7 Part 1, 7 Part 2. So this is his fifth Harry Potter movie. All of those last ones, Order of the Phoenix basically for me was the turning point of the Harry Potter movies, where I was like, wow, these kids are acting. And it just, I saw that one so many times in the theater. And yeah, I loved it. I think he was a fantastic addition to the Harry Potter franchise, and I'm so happy that he returned for this film as well, because this film did have an overall feel of, it feels like it belongs in Harry Potter, but at the same time, it feels different, and in a good way, in a very good way. So let's dive in here. So the film starts, and this is all set, and you may or may not know this yet, kind of against the backdrop of, if you're familiar, if you've read the books, I mean, they do talk about it in the movie, but it's much more discussed in the books. Grindelwald, Garrett, I had it on my computer, but now I already fell asleep in my lap, so I don't want to grab it, so excuse me while I pull this up on my phone, because I was reading, after this film, I went to the Wikipedia about this, because I've read the books, but, you know, it's been a couple of years, and there is so much, the lore is thick and heavy when it has to do with Gellert Grindelwald. Anyway, so it's kind of set, for those of you who don't know, if you may or may not be familiar with the Wizzarding World books or movies, whatever, he was the Voldemort before Voldemort. He would have been the number one Dark Wizard, according to Rita Skeeter, had Voldemort not unseated him, or I don't think he literally unseated him, but, you know, stole the crown of the worst of the worst a generation later. So this kind of, it opens with like these newspaper, you know, the Wizarding newspapers, and it's kind of going in and out of the news headings, and it's about, you know, basically Grindelwald terrorizing, and people don't know where he is or who he is, and so he's kind of missing, and then it shows up with Newt coming to New York City. And Newt's carrying a case. If you've seen the trailers, we've seen the case. It's the typical, I forget the word for it. I do apologize. I should have done research more, but I really just wanted to get this out there. But the case is one of those things like the Weasley's tent, or the ten in the seventh movie, the seventh book too, that they're using, where like you go in and this it's like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside, you know. So he's got this case that has all these magical creatures in there, and he's coming to New York City. We don't really know why in the beginning, but he shows up. He's walking through the city. He comes upon this like group of people that are listening to this woman kind of on a soapbox in the city, and she's basically talking about like she's the new Salem, the Salem I'm so sorry, I can't remember the name, the Salem, it's like the New Salemers or something like that, and it's basically this woman saying like witches are real and among us, and we have to. She basically wants another Salem witch trial situation, and at first it was a little weird, but because I was like, where did this woman come from? Like, what inspires her? But like any of the great Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, if you've read them, you know that you're going to get that third act, or you'll get halfway through some stuff, and then that third act is really going to lay in the information. So what I will say is the beginning of this movie feels to me very it felt a little clunky and a little bit getting started, but once now I've seen the whole thing and I go back and think about it, it's actually not it's not clunky. I think maybe it was just kind of like the anxiety of like the pressure of like it's a new Harry Potter movie and it's not Harry Potter, it's a new Wizarding World movie, and it delivers. So know that in this. But regardless, back to the plot. So Newt, one of the things gets out of the case he sees, he kind of chases it down. He bumps into this muggle. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna pull it up here because it's bugging me that I don't know. I literally read this all. I mean, I'm just trying to cram too much information into my head at once. I just want to make sure I get the main muggle, the main character's names correct, but Kowalski is his name. And they're at a bank, and because he's Newt's trying to catch a this creature that he likes, shiny things, so he likes all the money and stuff like that. So he bumps into this Kowalski fella, and by a series of events, they basically, he's the muggle that now knows of wizarding stuff, and that's a big no. That's a big against the law, and I believe that is actually referred to as the International Statute of Secrecy, which is the rule that witches and wizards remain. They're basically underground. You know what I mean? They don't make themselves known to the Muggle world. So there is a woman in the crowd. You've seen her in the trailer. Her name is Tina. And she is I was like, oh, she's their police force. She is an aura. They do use that word as well. And what I actually found really interesting is I was thinking, like, we hear about all these jobs through the Harry Potter books and the movies, and this is the first time that we saw like it's an adult story. So it's kind of like we're not seeing it from a kid's perspective. Like Harry Potter was the representation of the audience. He came in not knowing anything about wizards. He only knew the Muggle world. This time it's like we're coming in, we're aware of it through the Harry Potter perspective, but now we're seeing how it works. And kind of in a whole new light, because the United States works differently than the other ones. For example, so he broke a law, she takes him in, but she's not in good standing with it's not the Ministry of Magic, it's a Congress of Magic run by a president, and they basically shut up, take care of it, take him away or whatever, and they are run. Oh, it should be known too. So the woman asks Newt, "What are you in America for?" And he says he's here to see this specific person about a magical creature or whatever. And she was saying, "Well, we don't allow the breeding of magical creatures anymore." For the last, she said they caught that guy like a year ago. So the idea is that the Wizarding World in the United States is basically exterminating. It outlaws the breeding of magical creatures, and I believe it exterminates them as well. And they believe that there's one on the loose in the city. There's something on the loose in the city. We don't know what it is. But anyway, regardless, so this is how he meets Tina. And then there's Colin Farrell is in this movie as well. He plays the character Graves, and he works for the Congress of Magic. And I could be describing that as a different thing. I'm sorry. But, he's a higher up. And so he's kind of following along this investigation as well. But there's always an A plot and a B plot, and the thing is that we didn't know anything really about is the B plot in this, and that is Graves' kind of side story, and he's dealing with Ezra Miller's character, Ezra Miller, who you may or might not know from Perks of Being a Wallflower, excellent movie. His character is, hold on one second, let me find his name. It's like Credence Barebone, and so he is, from what we tell, an adopted son. The woman who is leading the group of Salemers, or preaching about witches being real, she has like 10 adopted children, and they're all kind of like weird, and Credence is one of those, and he's like having secret secret meetings with Colin Farrell's character, and I don't want to talk too much about what they're doing, what they're up to, and you don't really find that out till like halfway or toward the end of the movie. But anyway, so Tina, I forget what happened, like what specifically happens, but basically Tina's in the care, like has to take care of Newt, and she takes him to her house, and she takes the Muggle Kowalski with them because he's been bitten by one of the creatures, and they have to kind of watch out for him, and they can't do an obliviate on him until he's healed. So they take him. He meets Tina's sister, who can read minds, and their interactions are really cute. And the sister and him have a thing together. But I'm sorry. So while Tina is prosecuting Newt, how Kowalski comes into this whole thing is, he disappeared. He was able to get away from the bank, and Newt did not obliviate his memory. So they kind of go in search of him, and they had mixed up suitcases. So Kowalski unintentionally has opened the suitcase and let out some of these magical creatures. So that's basically why they're with him, and they're on the hunt for the magical creatures. You know that plot from the trailer. I am doing a terrible job of saying the plot, but I don't want to talk about the plot too much because I don't want to give stuff away. But The B plot in this, to me, so I'm just going to give my thoughts and feelings on the movie now. So that's that. There's the side plot has to do with Salemers. There's a lot going on because there's the backdrop of Grindelwald, and you know that's going to play a part somehow. And then there's also like the president of the Magical Congress. She's very much worried about like a war of the Muggles. So they're like still very much aware of, like, they don't want to cause incidents, and it feels like they're on the edge of war the whole time. The United States is, at least, and the United States seems very, like, I don't know, they make a lot of references to they're not allowed to they have backwards laws about magical folk engaging with non-magical folk, and so it's forbidden, it's against the law here. So that's going to be a plot point because Tina's sister, Queenie, likes Kowalski, so that's going to play out in the movie too. So it's unfortunate because, as we know, Hermione's parents were non-magical, and I don't. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, in Harry Potter you can. Because in Britain you can be Muggle, non-Muggle. Wizard, Muggle. Whatever. But anyway, so I've lost my train of thought here for a second. So they're really kind of cramming that, like, okay, the Americas are doing it differently, and there's like that back as well. There's a thing about the animals that they want to exterminate them. Like, they're very much I don't know. It was kind of cool to see the inner workings because they work similar to England, but it's different, and we all know it. So it was like neat to just go into this knowing what we know, having seen the other Harry Potter movies. I'm going to give this movie a lot of credit, though. It was a very standalone movie. A lot of name drops here and there. Not overly excessive. Obviously they mentioned Dumbledore at one point. And when you get to the end of the movie and you rewatch it back, it actually gives new meaning to when they mention Dumbledore, and you're like, oh, clever. So if that's something you want to talk about, we can talk about that. But my overall impression of this movie, I liked it. I don't want to gush about it or anything right now. I just want to blatantly talk about it. Like I said, I thought the beginning was a little clunky, but it was one of those, once I know the end, I think when I go back and watch it again, I'm going to enjoy the beginning a lot more. I thought all the characters, with the exception of one, I really enjoyed everybody. I loved the woman who played Tina, and I loved Tina's character. I loved Queenie was great. Kowalski, who I didn't think I was going to enjoy. Oh, Artie's jumping down. I didn't think I was going to enjoy him in this movie, but I thought he was great. He was maybe my favorite character, and Colin Farrell was fantastic. Ezra Miller was great. So many, basically every person in this movie was great, and it was. I'm not in love with Eddie Redmayne. I want to like him, and I don't know if it's just Craig put thoughts in my head before I went where he was like, I don't like Eddie Redmayne, blah blah blah. I like Eddie Redmayne, but he's very I don't know, his character, I didn't have that magic in love with him the way I did with like all the Harry Potter kids, you know, or anybody like Professor McGonagall or Dumbledore. I always feel like I immediately liked these people. Sirius Black, you know, this one I was like, meh. Maybe it's just because he's a Hufflepuff. Okay, I said it. But I don't hate him. I thought, like I said, the movie, once they capture the first creature that gets out, I thought the movie picked up pace really well. And it actually, I'm going to say there's a lot of darker themes. The movie itself is not like scary or anything like that per se, but this movie deals with, I'm going to say it, but not specifics, but there's child abuse in this movie. You know, not like visually graphic child abuse, but it does deal with the theme of child abuse. It kind of, the idea is that there is this thing that can be created from a wizard denying their magic and who they are, and like self-hatred. There's this whole thing about self-hatred that causes things to explode and come out in different ways, and that was really interesting because I don't know if that's just denying who we are as a whole, or if that's touching on like the way people are, you know, with like, you know, young, you know, the gay and lesbian youth or transgender youth. They often, you know, hide who they are, and then it comes out in, you know, hurtful ways, you know, self-hurtful sometimes, that, you know, whether it be like they inflict pain on others eventually, or they end up hurting themselves, you know. So I thought that was a really interesting, I thought that was a fascinating thing to include in this movie, and not in a way where you're like, oh, here comes the lecture, or here comes the be nice to everybody thing. It was very, very well done. And if that's not the reflection of that, if I'm seeing a different parallel, I don't know, maybe I read deeper into it than I was supposed to, but I thought that was really good. Apparently, the wizards in America, who I am ashamed of, I guess, they have a death penalty. So that got a little like, oh man, death penalty. And it's interesting. So you kind of see the inner workings of their government system, their magic government, which I really enjoyed. I love that stuff. I thought the effects were good. I liked the creatures. It's one of those where, like, I hate to say it, like, the only magical creatures I've ever cared for, and they're not even magical, it's like Hedwig. And you know, maybe Hermione's cat, but like, I don't care about any of the creatures in this movie. I don't necessarily think you have to, but it's just kind of like, it's, I don't know. It's not like, that isn't essentially what the movie is about. I mean, that's like the surface level what it's about, but it's not. And it's a really good start to, like, you can see all this heavy mythology and lore that they're going to get into from the Harry Potter universe, that, like, it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel contrived. It actually feels like they're starting to, like, really tell us some stories here, that this is going to be a great starting off point. This movie very much reminded me of The Sorcerer's Stone, where it was kind of like, for me, you know, I hadn't read the books when I saw the first one, but I was kind of like, the most interesting parts when I see that movie are the parts about Voldemort, the allusions to things that had happened, and how Harry Potter was the boy who lived, and the whole thing with the parents. Like, it's that other beeline that was very interesting. And it was the same here for me, where it was like, we're being introduced into this new universe, but also the beeline is going on. And I want to know more about the beeline. And I guess that's just how we start in here. It was a great start. I'm really curious to see where they go. Do not read the Harry Potter wiki, though. If you are going to see this movie, it has spoilers because it basically details Newt's life, but very explicitly details his time in New York City. And that will ruin the film for you because it has several plot points in it that you're like, I don't know what else I can say. Like, I feel... Sometimes I see movies that I'm like, really, like, there's a lot of pressure on it, and I go and I'm like, I can't react the first time because I don't know if it's nerves or I'm just sitting there and I'm waiting for it to hit me. So it's like, I need to see it again. I enjoyed it. I would never say this is a bad movie. And I've had people already contact me like gushing about it, and I'm not saying I'm not gushing about it, and I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely better than there are no bad Harry Potter movies. There are ones that are people enjoy more than the others. That's what we should say. And this is the same. You'll enjoy this one more or less than some of the others. Obviously this can't be on the level of Harry Potter in the Deathly Hallows or any of that stuff yet. Because it's the first one. But it's a great introduction that I am so excited that potentially later down the road we could be seeing stories that maybe could be potentially better than the other ones, but who knows? I'm excited. So the rumor is David Yates, they want him to do all 5 of them. I'd be okay with it. JK is writing them all. She's great. I think she did a really good job with her screenplay. I think that we're going to end up seeing an extended version of this film, though. I will tell you, there were a couple parts, especially the first third of the movie, where it felt like it was a little choppy in the editing. It's not something you're going to notice on average unless you're like really looking for it. I just like keyed into it at one point where I was like, there's more going on in the scene than I think they're actually showing us right now. It doesn't hurt the story by any means. It just was kind of like, I'm enjoying it. Show me more. I will be very interested, and I am going to talk about something, and it is about casting for a sequel that I'm gonna hold up my hand, and it's not a major spoiler, but if you don't want to hear anything, regarding this is probably the bigger of spoilers I'll talk about, and it's not a spoiler. It's just if you don't know this yet, don't really listen to this part, okay? Till I put my hand down. So Johnny Depp, it was all over social media, Entertainment Weekly, and everything was reporting that Johnny Depp has been cast as Grindelwald, and he'll be playing Grindelwald in the movies, and so I feel like they shouldn't have made that a big deal until after this movie came out, because it did, it kind of, I don't know. There were other people in the theater, I think, that didn't know this stuff, and so there was a good reaction I got from people at one point that I was almost like, oh man, I wish I didn't know. So there's that. That was my only complaint, and I don't blame the movie. I blame social media and whoever leaked this story or whatever. I apologize. I haven't been looking at the camera. I've been looking at the view screen because it's darker in here. It goes in and out of focus. You don't care. Anyway, I'm really excited to see where these movies go. This is a really good start. I'm really enjoying that we're seeing the first adult story. It didn't feel kiddie necessarily at all. It's interesting to finally see the story of a Hufflepuff. Although Newt did not graduate from Hogwarts, he was kicked out for an issue with a magical creature and endangering the life of a human. I think they said human, and so I'm assuming it was another student. We don't know. We don't really know the backstory. There was an allusion to a Lestrange at one point, him having some sort of friendship or something. It sounded similar to the Lily and Sirius relationship, where maybe he liked her and then things happen and things change. But then I was like, oh, Bellatrix. But then I looked it up. Bellatrix Lestrange is a Lestrange by marriage to her husband. She is a Black, which we all know because she was related. She's like Sirius Black's cousin or something like that. Yeah. But I will say, that's what's great about this movie. It had me going back to the source material, which Steve Porter made a good point to me. This is kind of the first Harry Potter universe that we're all going in together where we don't know anything. Like we know what we've read in those other books, but that's not laid out necessarily like crystal clear. And we only really know the Grindelwald stuff. We don't know anything about Newt really, other than little dabbles here and there what we've heard on Pottermore. So like, there's no source material. There's no like, oh well, it was different in the books. Oh well, it was different like that. Like that's very minimal. And I really enjoyed that experience because we're kind of all going in and being surprised together. It's like we had all these great fun with this stuff, and now we're getting surprised in a new medium, in a new way by J.K. Rowling. And that's the beauty of Harry Potter, is it can still deliver magic all this time later. And a fun fact, this is actually 15 years ago this week was the release of the Sorcerer's Stone. So feel old. The Sorcerer's Stone is a high schooler. I talked about the acting. I talked about the effects. I thought the direction's great. I mean, I never really have a complaint about David Yates. I feel like when he does his Harry Potter movies, they all have very distinct, different feels to them. 5 is different than 6, which is different than 7, which is different than 7 Part 2. I'm sorry I keep calling them that. My brain is not functioning. But I talked about the casting thing. These are going to come out every 2 years, so I'm assuming we get the next one 2018, and from what we've been told is they're going to take place over 20 years, so they end in 1945, so my guess is that the Grindelwald is going to be exactly like Voldemort, and it's going to become a more massive part of the story, and since Dumbledore and Newt do have some sort of relationship that they allude to, I'm assuming that's how he ties into it, but honestly, this movie even left me feeling like these movies don't all have to follow Newt. They can kind of go anywhere they want. I mean, so I feel like this is the only one that's going to really be centered around this beasts thing. I don't know though. I don't know. The whole idea is that he's trying to show people how to care for them and everything like that. So we'll see. The next movie will be interesting because it's going to have the effects of what this movie does. I'm wondering if they're going to go to war, and I'm wondering if the other movies are going to be laid against the backdrop of World War II. Because this one had to do with some of the aftermath of World War One, and so I'm very curious to see, because that's the 30s, and it'll be interesting to see how that all lays in there. And I kind of hope they progress in the same way the books do, where they this one started out nicer, and then it gets like more adult in and out. But I mean, there's no denying all the Harry Potters, they have a sense of humor at some point or another. But it's a good film. You know what it is? It's great because it gets you having a conversation with other people. And when a movie can do that and you can have a discussion with people, that's when I think it's a great movie. So I think I will give it tons of credit on that. I feel like I've dissed it for some reason, even though I enjoyed it. You must see this in the theater. I mean, it's an event film. It's great. We're all gonna own it when it comes out on Blu-ray. Some sort of special edition of it. Maybe it'll come with Newt's wand. Who knows? Fun magic in this one. I don't know. I've got to really sit and process it more, but I think that's all my feelings I have on it. There's a lot of the same way they do the Great Britain actors in the Harry Potter film series. They kind of are doing that, or they at least did this in this American one. You know what I mean? There's John Voight makes an appearance and stuff, and we talked about another one. So, and I think Ezra Miller is fantastic. I don't want to, because I don't. These are hard because Harry Potter, especially, you don't want to ruin anything for anybody. But the Ezra Miller storyline, it's really good. It's really good. The darker stuff is really, really good in this. The lighter stuff is really good, too. It's a nice commentary. It's for anybody who's ever felt socially awkward. This is the movie for you, too. It's just a nice trip to get back into the Wizarding World, and I, for one, am looking forward to everything that it has to offer. So, other than just repeatedly repeating myself over and over again, I'm going to call it quits there, because I think I've been talking for far too long. And I want to know what you guys' thoughts are. So let me know in the comment section below. Tweet at us at DizPopShow. Us being me, and Facebook works great too. I'm not as fast on there, but I really want to know. Like, let's talk about Harry Potter. I love it. I loved that this got me to immediately go to a computer, read a Harry Potter wiki, and I'm already like, oh god, I've got to go back and start reading the books again. What which it tells you like this amazing thing that she has created, that you are able to go back so many years later and like keep getting so much from these things. And yeah, so let me know what you guys thought of the movie in the comment section below. If you saw it, did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you just meh? What's your favorite part? Try to be respectful of others though in the comments below. I don't want to see like any major spoiler or anything like that, but I'm just curious like who your favorite character was. For me, I want to say Kowalski was the Muggle, which surprised me. Let me know in the comment section below. And I think that'll do it for right now. I will see you guys next time in the next episode of DizPop.